الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called us to purifying our souls, purifying our actions, purifying ourselves for the world of purification, which is the world of Al-Jannah. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to include us amongst the people of Al-Jannah without accountability nor punishment. Ameen. However, the journey towards purifying oneself is a journey of a lifetime. It's not just one attempt or twice or three times. This is a journey of a lifespan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you and I. The challenge in it is how our evil self would align usually with the whispers of a shaitan. And a shaitan has one goal in mind, and that is to make it difficult to purifying oneself by entangling us in the world and space of our convictions and perceptions and beliefs, which is the world of our soul and thoughts and heart, the spiritual heart rather. And that is to throw and cast despair. And when we despair of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness and pardon, and for us to be worthy of His mercy and of His forgiveness, that's exactly where a shaitan wants us to be. But this is where it becomes very important for us to have clarity of perception, clarity of belief, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling you to purification and did not leave you to your own efforts, but He promised to aid you, to help you at every step. And every time you invest an effort, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala matches your effort by His divine aid that would absolutely pale your effort, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's aid would never compare to your own and my efforts. And this is why it is very important, in one hand, assume of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala good, so you will find that aid. And the fact that we, for instance, we make supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify ourselves, in whether that is in our actions or statements or moral compass or ethical or moral character or behavior, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the aid, but at the same time we accompany that request, if you will, that supplication, with a little bit of doubt whether it will materialize or not. And this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, it is up to you. I am exactly what you assume of me. If it is good, you will find it. If you're assuming of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 50-50, you will get 50-50. If you're assuming of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala full extent and beyond, then it's very important, because it is literally the struggle starts with the conviction, and the perception needs to be rectified. And the way to rectify it is absolute trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make supplication. This is one. Number two, follow it with work. Follow it with work. You take one task at a time. One task at a time, as they say, and the saying goes, how do you eat a whole elephant? One bite at a time. How do you purify your whole self? One area at a time. One area could be the ability of not speaking except the truth, and if you don't have anything good to say, to not say anything. This requires a lot of discipline. Work on that area. Because as the Prophet ﷺ says, that the majority of the people on the Day of Judgment will come to be held accountable and punished due to what their tongue had sent forth. and as a result of their statements of what they say. And this is why Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, subhanallah, used to say, if people realize that their statements are actually the part of their deed, then they will be careful not to say or not to engage in any statement except that when that statement is going to be recorded in their good deed. If it is the other way around, they're quiet. This is why Al-Hasan al-Basri, who had unbelievable number of students, but every time they attend his classes, he would hardly speak. They will have to prompt him with whatever it is that they need. Otherwise, he's not just always volunteering to speak. And one time, one of his students asked him, why is that? He says, because every time I sit and I wanted to speak, I look into what is it that I am about to say, and I would usually find the majority of what I would say is not going to go down in my record of good deed, so that's why I kept it in. The point, assume of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala good, and dismiss the whispers of negative self-talk, whispers of shaitan, and your evil self negative talk to yourself, because this is the area that want to convince you that you're not worthy and you are a helpless case and you have committed tons of wrongdoing and sinning, and you have gone way off and a point of no return. Any of these kind of self-negative talk that you hear, which is literally something that really comes in words in your space of your thoughts. This is from a shaitan. This is from the evil self. Dismiss all of it and counter it literally by you outwardly, literally out loud say, I am doing business with the one who guided me to even think about this, let alone act on it. And he is inviting me. He's promising me to aid me to reach that level of self-purification. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Successful is the one who purifies himself. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And miserable and wretched and unsuccessful is the one who spoils and follows his whims and desires, instead follows and listens to that negative self-talk and the whispers of shaitan that want to push you and I to the corner of despair. Instead, have that complete confidence in the aid of Allah, in the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا, that those who strive to excel, we will certainly aid them. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the confidence in the promise of Allah, and to grant us also the confidence to dismiss the negative whispers of shaitan that wants nothing but despair, that would follow the actions of despair as well. And we ask Allah ta'ala to grant us al-Jannah and make us in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.